Hey everyone, this is Rohan and welcome to this channel. Today I have a small lesson to share with all of us, and this is about Jesus and his characteristics. Many times we talk about Jesus as a disciple or as a Christian, that Jesus is this, Jesus is that, his love, his kindness, his goodness, he's accepting, he's forgiving, all those great qualities that we talk about when we talk about Jesus. But today I'm going to share a lesson that is actually about his anger. There are a few times in the Bible it's been recorded that he was angry, and what we can learn from that character of Jesus, that what his anger is all about, and how we can compare our anger, our situation when we get angry, how we can compare and how we can learn from Jesus better, because he's the perfect example. So without delay, let's dive into it. So indignation of Jesus, basically his anger. So the meaning of indignation is provoked anger or annoyance by unfair treatment of someone, which makes someone to do something about it. Right? So basically, once you are angry, you have a strong feeling to do something, like you want to hit the wall, you want to slam the door, or you want to just throw things away, or maybe you want to hit the person, which we definitely should not do. But we as a human being sometimes does in anger. But at the same time, we see Jesus, that why he was angry, and what I can learn from that situation when he gets angry and he's not doing sin. Because in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26, let's go there with me, and it says, "In your anger do not sin, do not let the sun go down while you are still angry." So Bible is very clear over there that in your anger you do not sin. At the same time, we see Jesus as a perfect example of being angry but not doing any kind of sin. It's very obvious for us as a human being when we get angry to just fall into sin directly, because maybe we don't know how to handle our anger, how to handle the angry situation that we get into many times, right? The thing is that we need to learn that how Jesus handled things, and being a perfect example in everything, definitely we can go to him and we can adopt his characteristics and practice those things in our life. God also gets angry. So what I want to say by saying these words again and again, anger is not a sin. Being angry, getting angry is not a sin. But what is the sin? What you do in your anger, that is the sin. God was angry in many places in the Old Testament. We see in Genesis chapter 19 as well. We also know Sodom and Gomorrah. What had happened with these two cities was completely destroyed by God and his wrath. God was like bursting out from above on these two cities, and he completely destroyed these cities because of sin, right? In Exodus, we see Exodus 32, God has become angry with the Israelites. Why? Because again, they sin against God. They made a golden calf and worshipping them, giving the place which actually belongs to God, to that golden calf. David was a man after God's own heart, but he also faced God's anger. So in Old Testament, we see God working so powerfully among the people in the Spirit. But in the New Testament, we see Jesus working so powerfully in human form. God's Spirit in him working so powerfully in human form. Did Jesus become angry? Yes, of course, as I mentioned. Let's go to the book of John, and we'll read over there chapter 2 verse 13 to 16. I'll read for you that. When it was almost time for Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple court, he found people selling cattle, sheep, doves, and others sitting at table exchanging money. So he made a whip out of a cord and drove all from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of money changers and overturned their tables. To those who sold doves, he said, "Get this out of here. Stop turning my father's house into a marketplace." So, he was so angry. What his anger was all about. That's what we need to learn. We see here Jesus was indignant. He got anger, and that anger made him to do something. And we read these scriptures. What he did, he was overturning the tables. He was whipping people out of the temple court. That's what that anger made him to do at that time. But we see here that Jesus was indignant, furious in anger. Jesus' anger was legit. Jesus' anger was a godly anger, a righteous anger, I would say. God's holy place cannot be a marketplace. And by the way, what people were actually not realizing on those moments when they were selling and doing all kinds of stuff which we do in the marketplace, they were actually mocking the holiness of God. They were not accepting God as a holy God. Then Jesus reminds us. What he reminds us? He reminds that your hearts are not correct with God. The kind of heart God wants from you, you don't have that heart. You completely missing out the point. You are not worthy right now to be here in the temple court, and you just go away from here. And that was his righteous anger that made him to do this place empty again. This is something happened many times with human hearts also, because God says, I will live into your heart. Your heart, your body is a temple. If there is a place for God, it should be only for God. Jesus reminded them that you are not ready. And he showed his anger, and he burst out in anger. It was his love for God. He couldn't see those things taking place in the temple court. And his indignation, it's actually a creation of his love for God. Because God is holy, and the wrath and anger both proceed from his holiness, time to time. We have seen many examples in the Old Testament as well. If we take away his anger, his indignation, will destroy the basis of his holiness, right? So nobody can touch God's holiness. Nobody can ruin God's holiness. That's what Jesus did. He protected the God's holiness. That's what I need to protect, my heart, because God lives there. God's holiness, not your heart you have to protect. You have to protect the God's holiness. That's where the power of righteousness flows. When you think about, the moment you think about that, hey, I need to protect God's holiness in my heart, you win the situation. Only those who haven't tasted a real love maybe have some difficulty to understand this indignation of Jesus Christ. Understand being a disciple of Jesus Christ. If you are a disciple, and if you're a Christian, you follow Christ every day in your life, we need to understand there are two types of anger in the world. First, ungodly anger, and second, righteous anger. We call it godly anger. What are those examples for ungodly anger? When we lose control, maybe if we missed the bus, or maybe if we missed our flight, we get angry. Somebody knocks off our head somehow. It's just a mistake. We get angry. Someone asks you, hey, when you are returning my money back to me? We get angry. Well, he's just or she's just asking a right question from you. What are those examples for righteous anger? The righteous indignation, like Jesus had, right? When you are not able to share Jesus along with others, do you feel that anger inside you, that why I'm not able to, do that stuff, what actually my God wants from me? That's a righteous anger that you have. When someone does morally wrong in your notice, when we see somewhere evil wins, do you have, by seeing that, the righteous anger burning inside you? When see someone supporting the wrong things, think about what area you and I need to change today. Jesus' anger was not an ungodly anger, but he was a godly anger. What we can learn from Jesus, he had a godly anger inside of him. And we also learn to have a godly anger, I think, the more than the worldly anger that we go through many times, and it damages us only. What a beautiful thing about the godly anger or the righteous anger is that it makes you grow. So it's every day's decision to follow him wholeheartedly. He cares about you. He cares about our heart. So let's keep growing and keep knowing step by step, little by little, who Jesus is, who God is. If you have any thought in your mind you want to ask, please feel free to ask in the chat box or in the comment. Let me also know what you do in your anger mostly. Please write that also. We'll try to help you out through the scriptures, how you can be better in those situations. So thank you, and see you next time in the next video.